Picture flipping through a dusty crate at 2 a.m. and pulling a record that sounds like Sabbath colliding with a jet engine. No hype sticker, no household name, just riffs that rearrange your spine. That's the energy of this countdown. The story of rock wasn't written only by the bands on stadium marquees. It was carved in rehearsal rooms, student unions, and tiny Euro labels where tape rolled hot and budgets were cold. These are the groups that didn't get the t-shirt but did the heavy lifting. Tonight we're tracing the shadow history. Proto-metal before the term existed, violin/prog, Dutch twin guitar epics, Japanese thunder, Mexican psych with hooks sharp enough to draw blood. We'll hit the one definitive track for each band, the album to hunt, and the tiny decisions, label misfires, bad timing, vanished managers that kept giants underground. Ground rules: no canon filler, no repeats, and every pick earns its spot on sound alone. Plug in, turn the lows up till the kick drum breathes, and let's count down 15 bands you've never heard of who just might become your new favorites. If you dropped a laser on London circa 1970, you'd find 1,000 power trios rehearsing in storage units. T2 are the one that sounds like they stole an orchestra's dynamics and ran them through fuzz pedals. On their cult LP, It'll All Work Out in Boomland. Every arrangement breathes. Passages expand and collapse. Drums surge and recede. The bass doesn't just anchor, it argues back. The guitars don't solo, so much has changed the weather. The core trick is dynamic engineering. T2 write in long arcs. Songs have internal movements like a suite. The drummer lets toms act as transitional motifs. The bass exploits open strings to thicken the spectrum, and the guitar toggles between shimmering arpeggios and sawtooth leads without losing thematic continuity. That's why the record feels big, even when it's 3 people in a room. Why they vanished: timing and label gravity. The UK majors in 1970 were triaging dozens of heavy bands. Without a champion, even a near masterpiece can slide into cult status. Bootlegs and spotty reissues didn't help. Start here. Morning, 1970. Listen for the volume swells at the top, like violins sneaking in, then the drop into a riff that keeps mutating. At 4:10, the drums reframe the groove, and the song takes flight. That's Boomland in miniature. Audiophile note: original Decca pressings are scarce and pricey. Later legit reissues finally do the low mids justice. Play loud. Before Doom and post-rock build whole scenes on violins versus amplifiers, High Tide weaponized the combo. Guitarist Tony Hill and violinist/keyboardist Simon House, later of Hawkwind, lock into a duel where melody and feedback are the same currency. The debut Sea Shanties, 1969, is not polite psychedelia, it's treble-rich turbulence with a rhythm section punching holes in 4/4. The band's vocabulary is closer to a string quartet's argument than a blues jam. The violin isn't sweetening, it's counter-riffing, often in unison at the octave for a serrated edge. Hill's guitar favors tight, descending figures that threaten to go off the rails, then resolve at the last second. Underneath, the drummer plays phrases, not patterns. Fills act like punctuation, not decoration. Why they vanished: they were too heavy for the folk circuit, too esoteric for pure blues heads, and too early for the prog mainstream. They didn't fit the racks. Start here. Futilist Lament, 1969. First minute, you get the thesis. Violin doubles the riff to make it bite, then breaks free into a keening line while the guitar grinds the harmony darker. Notice the basses walking into a storm feel. For the nerds, the mono-to-stereo perception shifts are tape, not trickery. Guitars hard-panned, violins stepping across the field. On headphones you can see the dual. Blitz arrived with the swirling Vertigo label on the back and a rhythm section. That new negative space is an instrument. Where a lot of early 70s heavy bands crammed the bar, Blitz leave air between the hits so the kick drum and bass land like anchors. The guitar tone is thick but unhurried. Riffs linger long enough for the overtones to bloom. They're also better arrangers than their reputation suggests. Verses sneak in halftime. Bridges drop the floor out for a bar or two. Then the band slams the door on the chorus. Tiny structural choices that give songs internal drama without prog bloat. The drummer's cymbal work is all about shape, not sizzle. You feel the crashes carve arcs through the mix. Why they vanished. Vertigo's roster was stacked, tours were brutal, and their second LP arrived into a marketplace already pivoting toward glam gloss and singer-songwriter intimacy. Heavy power trio records without a hit single fell between formats. Start Here, Smoking the Day Away, 1970. That opening riff is a thesis, patient, monolithic, and slightly behind the beat, so the groove leans. At 2:30, the guitar desaturates, and you hear how well the rhythm section breathes. Collector tip: the Spiral label original is a trophy. Recent remasters finally restore the kick drum's chest hit. Let your speakers work. The secret weapon is discipline. Tempos don't rush, fills are economical, and choruses arrive exactly when your ear wants them. They can swing without softening and stomp without losing clarity. The bass plays counterhooks, not merely root notes, so when the guitar steps out, the song doesn't collapse. Why they vanished. Tiny original pressing, poor distribution, and a scene moving toward flashier theatrics. By the time the world wanted this sound again, the record was a ghost passed between collectors. Start Here, Freelance Fiend, 1971. Count the micro-hesitations. The band lags a hair on the backside of phrases to make the chorus feel like a shove. The solo doesn't shred, it insists. Modern ear. If you love Queens of the Stone Age or early Orange Goblin, this is the dry source code. Houston's Josefus carry a different kind of heaviness, barband DNA hardened by Vietnam-era tension. The guitars don't float, they press. The drums feel like hardwood floors. The bass has that Gulf Coast low end that rattles neon beer signs. Their calling card is the long-form bruiser Dead Man, 1970. A sweep that moves from blues dirge to full-tilt catharsis without ever sounding contrived. What sets them apart is intent. Where some psych-heavy outfits drifted, Josefus commit. The drummer sits right on top of the beat to keep propulsion. The rhythm guitar uses clipped chords to leave room for the vocal narrative, and the lead guitar treats feedback like punctuation, not a party trick. It's American heaviness, less ornate, more sweat. Why they vanished, regional label limitations, and the geographic bias of the rock press. Texas bands had to shout twice as loud to be heard in New York or London. Josefus shouted in tone and time instead. Start Here, Dead Man, 1970. First section, Funeral March. Middle, the tempo inches forward, like someone standing up from a bar stool to swing. Final minutes. Release, not chaos, but the kind of locked-in fury that makes time dilate. Turn it up warning. This track reveals bad speakers. If the bass flaps, it's not them, it's your cones.
I hear sirens calling me.
If early metal had a Bronx Brooklyn borough sound, Sir Lord Baltimore were it. hurricane drums, serrated vocals, and tempos that feel like a car shot out of the Lincoln Tunnel at 2 a.m. Their debut Kingdom Come, 1970, is often cited as ground zero American proto-metal because it dispenses with blues mannerisms and jumps straight to velocity and impact.
Turn, turn, wheel of fortune spin.
The kit doesn't accompany, it attacks. Guitars are stacked like a wall of lawnmower blades, fuzz pushed into the red. Vocals? Half prayer, half street corner howl. The band's cleverness is rhythmic. The drummer phrases in bursts, tiny accelerations that make the downbeat hit harder, while the rhythm guitar stabs leave negative space for the bass to launch.
On crimson majesty.
Choruses resolve fast. Bridges arrive like the turn of a switchblade. You hear the blueprint for later American heaviness that prizes drive over filigree. Why they didn't conquer. A sound this extreme in 1970 was hard to market. Without a radio-ready single or a tour machine to match the energy, they became a legend traded on cassette.
Turn, turn, wheel of fortune spin.
Start here. Master heartache. Count how quickly the groove goes from stride to sprint, and how the cymbals draw a bright halo around the riff. When the vocal tears in, the lyric becomes another percussion instrument. Play note. This mix rewards volume. If your speakers can't track the kick at speed, use headphones. This record is a cardio workout. Before joining Atomic Rooster, John Duke captained Andromeda, a trio that fuses psych drama with prog architecture without losing the song. The trick is Duke hands ear for anthemic motifs. Verses set up melodic payoffs you can hum. Then the band expands those ideas into extended sections that feel earned, not indulgent.
Her touch was a tide of love in our heart.
The bass doesn't just hold root, it sings counterlines, which lets the guitar step into long melodies without the floor dropping away. Production is bone dry by design. Close mic drums, guitar either hard-panned or doubled for lift, vocals placed to ride the crest of the riff. It's heavy music that still behaves like songs first. You come away remembering choruses, not just tones. Why they didn't conquer. Label turbulence and bad timing.
One day my life will fade and I'll join the stars.
In 69 to 70, the racks were crowded with heavy trios. Without a decisive single and constant roadwork, you became a collector's object. Start here. Return to sanity. The intro promises menace. The chorus blooms without getting syrupy. The midsection proves they can stretch and snap back to the hook on command. Record nerd aside, original UK pressings are scarce. Newer reissues finally give the toms the weight they deserve. Named after a Victorian novel, Berlin's Blackwater Park built a single LP, Dirt Box, 1972, that sounds like a rehearsal room exploding in hi-fi. The signature is Hammond muscle, organ as co-guitar, with a rhythm section that plays like it's guiding a convoy through traffic. Firm, purposeful, unflustered. Vocals are gritty without swagger. The frontman rides the beat like a second snare. Arrangements favor parallel power. Guitar and Hammond often double the riff in different octaves, making the downbeat land like a dropped safe. Then the organ peels off into Leslie swirl filigree while the guitar grinds the harmony darker. Think hard prog where every part has a job and no bar arrives empty-handed. Why they didn't conquer. Germany's early 70s export pipeline spotlighted the cosmic/experimental fringe. A band this song forward and heavy fell between domestic scenes and foreign expectations. Start here, One's Life. Here the organ announced the chords like floodlights snapping on. Then the riff locked to the snare. When the guitar breaks free, the Hammond keeps the roof from lifting off. Listen tip, If your system can image well, you'll see guitar left, organ right, drums centered, an object lesson in hardpan power. Dutch quartet Cargo specialize in melodic heft, two guitars conversing in long lines, then arriving at riffs that resolve like a well-told story. The rhythm section is patient. The drummer plays phrases more than patterns, opening hi-hats to widen the bar, then dropping to toms for a sense of terrain. Bass favors melodic walking under held chords, which keeps the engine moving even when the guitars drift into trance. What makes them addictive is structure. Songs unfold in episodes, theme, variation, return, without prog bloat. The tones are warm, mid-forward, tape-saturated. You feel the string windings, not just the distortion. It's the kind of heaviness that asks for time, then rewards it with motifs you catch yourself humming later. Why they didn't conquer? Limited distribution and the tyranny of language markets. Radio wanted short hooks, Cargo wrote long arcs. They became a secret handshake among collectors instead. Start here, finding out. The first motif states the thesis. The second section rotates the harmony, so the ground seems to tilt. The return lands like home. For guitar heads, study the call and answer voicings. No ego intrusion, just parts locking like carpentry. Edinburgh's Writing on the Wall brought a theatrical streak to heavy psych. Vocals with stage lights on them, organ that behaves like a lead instrument, and guitars that know when to stop and when to pounce. Their recordings feel like short plays, scenes with rising action, a twist, a curtain line. Drums are roomy and physical. The snare speaks in full sentences, not just backbeats. The organ is the hinge. In verses it underscores, long, minor pads that tint the scene. Then in choruses it shouts, doubling the riff to make its civic alarm loud. Guitar tone is woolly in the best way, fuzzy but articulate, as if the pick attack etches the riff into glass. Over it, the vocal sells the drama without tipping into camp. Why they didn't conquer? They sat awkwardly between psych residue and the coming glam/prog split. Too heavy for art rock, too artful for barband radio. The algorithm of 1969 didn't have a lane. Start here. It came on a Sunday. Note the staging. Quiet menace to set the scene, then the organ drop that opens the ceiling. The outro doesn't fade. It exits like a stage blackout. Tape note, original mixes can sound unruly. Remasters tame the harshness without sanding off the theater. Before members decamped to egg and gong, they slipped into a studio under the pseudonym Arzachel and lit a match. The self-titled 1969 LP doesn't behave like a debut. It behaves like a document of contact. Organ rave-ups pitched into feedback storms. Guitar fuzz so saturated it seems to bend the room. Rhythm section playing with the urgency of stolen studio time. The songs don't wander, they jump cliffs. The architecture is organ-led in the classic British psych sense. Think Vox/Leslie choral swirl, but the attack is closer to proto-metal than to whimsy. Drums are recorded dry and close. Fills carve lanes through the organ fog. Bass plays counter-melody more than root, giving the music a tug-of-war feel. Every bar threatens to tilt over, then locks at the last second. Why they vanished? The Arzachel name was a legal fiction for a quick, hot session. There was no touring plan, no brand, and the members immediately moved on to projects with actual calendars. Scarce pressings turned the album into a collector's rumor, then a grail. Start here. Azathoth. You get the thesis in seconds. Ritual drone intro organ detonates guitar, tears a vertical line down the mix. Listen for how the drums pull the band back from the cliff right before each freefall. Nerd note. Even later reissues leave some tape hair. Don't fear the grit. It's part of the electricity.
You know what I found. Well, son, go.
Blues creation began as a Japanese blues cover outfit and, by 1971, had willed themselves into a hard rock original with cannon shot downbeats and guitars recorded so dry you feel the paper of the speaker cone. The pivot arrives with albums like Demon and 11 Children. Riffs tighten, tempos stop apologizing, and the band writes to the moment of impact rather than the 12-bar. What separates them from Western peers isn't imitation, it's focus. Arrangements are uncluttered to the point of monkishness. Verse, hammer, release. No wasted bars. Drums favor center lane authority, kick and snare like guardrails, while the bass writes short counter themes so the guitar can hold a single idea and make it loom. Vocals keep to the mid-range, urgent, not theatrical. Why they vanished: language market barriers and distribution. International rock press rarely listened East unless it was exotica or pure psych. By the time reissue culture caught up, the band had changed personnel and the story had scattered. Start here. Just I Was Born, 1971. Hear the first hit of the riff. No room reverb, just a slab of tone. The chorus doesn't try to float, it drives. You can map a straight line from this discipline to later stoner and doom minimalism. Guitar heads, the high mid bite is the point. Don't warm it up with EQ. Let the edge talk. There are heavy bands, and then there's Flower Travellin Band, who made heaviness into a trance mechanism. On Satori, 1971, 5 linked movements spiral around modal riffs that evolve like weather systems. Drums favor tom-heavy patterns that feel ritualistic. The bass traces root and fifth like a mantra, and Joe Yamanaka's vocal threads between human cry and instrument. The genius isn't just the riffs, it's the patience. Movements sit on a figure long enough to hypnotize, then tilt the harmony a degree so your inner ear snaps awake. Guitar tone is wiry and vocal, not syrupy. The notes cut rather than smear. You can hear the band listening, breathing as one. So when the dynamic surges happen, they feel earned, not engineered. Why they vanished: a domestic scene in flux, international distribution thin, and a sound too monolithic for single-driven radio. For decades, Satori lived as a whispered recommendation passed between collectors and musicians. Start here. Satori Part 2. It's the portal, a single riff as journey, dynamics as narrative, drums that make your room feel smaller and bigger at once. If it resonates, play the whole suite front to back. It was designed that way. For modern ears, this is the blueprint for post-metal's meditative side and the long-form heaviness of bands that came decades later. From Durango garage beginnings to Mexico City studios, Los Dug Dugs built a bilingual psych hard rock that refuses to choose between hooks and heat. The organ is a co-guitar, bright Leslie spin against crunchy rhythm, and the band writes choruses you can sing on first contact. Where a lot of psych leans jammy, they stay song true. Verses land clean, bridges escalate, and solos serve the tune. Production favors immediacy. Drums are close and a touch dry, vocals right on the mic. Guitar with just enough dirt to chew. Bilingual lyrics weren't a gimmick. They were a strategy, a way to cut through regional radio while nodding to the Anglophone market. The result is records that feel like opened windows, fresh air, street noise, sun, rather than basement jams. Why they vanished: limited cross-border push and industry turbulence. Even killer bands needed a stable pipeline to break internationally, and Mexico's rock infrastructure of the early 70s was volatile. Start here. Lost in My World, Perdido en mi Mundo, 1971. Organ states the scene, guitar locks the riff, and the chorus lands like a memory you're somehow just now remembering. It's psych rock that smiles while it smokes. Deep cut direction. Once hooked, head for Cool ES 2 Nombre to hear the same pop instincts in another register.
You know, bro, there's just something special about the sound of a classic rock album on vinyl. It's how these albums were originally meant to be heard. The warmth, the crackle, and the ritual of dropping the needle on the record. It's an experience that digital just can't recreate. And if you've ever wanted to dive into that classic vinyl sound, but didn't know where to start, I've got you covered. I've been checking out this Victrola Bluetooth portable suitcase turntable. It's the perfect way to get into vinyl. You just pop it open, put on a masterpiece like Led Zeppelin's 4 or Pink Floyd's The Dark Side of the Moon, and let the needle drop on that legendary groove. The best part is, it's a suitcase design, so you can literally take your rock and roll vibes anywhere. You can move it from your bedroom to the living room, or even take it to a friend's place. And it even has Bluetooth, so you can stream music from your phone when you're not spinning records. It's the best of both worlds. This is a great starting point for any fan who wants to feel the foundation of rock lore in a whole new way. If you're interested in grabbing one for yourself, I've put a link to it in the description below. Clicking that link and buying one is an awesome way to support the channel and help us keep bringing you more deep dives into the music we all love. So go check it out, and let's get back to the countdown.
Edinburgh's The Human Beast cut one LP in 1970 and vanished, leaving behind a record that plays like a night walk, lean, ominous, and strangely intimate. The guitar tone is knife bright at the top and shadow thick below. The rhythm section moves like a single animal, drum stalking, bass coiling. Vocals are cool, nearly fatalistic, which makes the lyrics land harder. There's no bloat, arrangements are spare, transitions quick, atmosphere dense. What sets them apart is suspense. They understand that the space before impact is often the most powerful place in rock. Choruses don't lift so much as tighten. The organ, when it appears, is texture not furniture, like a cold breath crossing the back of your neck. The mix lets transients through, pick attack, snare wire rattle, the grain of the room. Why they vanished: micro-pressing, minimal touring footprint, and a sound that didn't fit any of the rising lanes. Too dark for pop radio, too disciplined for freak-out psych, too eerie for blues clubs. The result, an album that lived as a rumor until reissue archaeology dragged it into daylight. Start here. Appearance is everything. Style is a way of living. The title is a sneer and a thesis. The music is controlled menace. Listen to how the groove never hurries, how the guitar flickers between rhythm and lead like a blade catching light. Play advice: late night, good headphones, volume high enough to feel the kick as a physical pulse. This one wants the dark. The journey doesn't end here, Rock Warrior. Watch this next.